Ladies and gentlemen, can this be real? It's Thursday, September 7th. The year is 2017 and it's 5 p.m. Pacific. Which means it's time to kick off Let's Learn StarCraft, Episode 0. We're going to start it off by telling you what the hell this show is about. But first, I'm like the happiest I've been in the longest time. A lot because StarCraft Remastered just came out. And in case you didn't know, Brood War is the game that I grew up playing, that I went to LAN parties with my friends and stayed up all night playing with my brother, sometimes getting in trouble with my mom because we wouldn't go to bed till like 3 in the morning. I competed in tournaments and found practice partners from all over the world, some of whom don't even speak English, but Brood War was the common language that we used to communicate, and a lot of those practice partners are still my friends today. Wherever I've gone in my life, StarCraft has been there, whether it be going to college or grad school or going into the real world. I can always kind of plug into the StarCraft community or to StarCraft itself and feel right at home. And of course, StarCraft is where I got my career started as a streamer. And now it's back. Now, most games don't get remastered that are 20 years old. And it's here, and I'm playing it again, and I'm like literally vibrating with happiness as I'm sitting there playing my derpy Big Game Hunters games. So for all of you who are here, welcome. If you've never played StarCraft before, or maybe you played Age of Empires or StarCraft 2 and you're coming to StarCraft 1 for the first time, maybe you played it when it released and you took like a 14-year break in your career of being a StarCraft pro and now you're coming back. For all of you, this series is for you. All you really need to know about the series, I should say, all you need to know before you go and watch the series is pretty much the rules of the game, like what the units do, what tech trees are, the basic feel of each of the races. You don't need to know any complex build orders, any complex strategies. I don't want to teach you the rules of StarCraft. I want to teach you how to succeed within those rules of StarCraft. I also hope that before you watch extra videos in this series that you spend some time just watching a few games of top-level pros playing, so that way you can appreciate how rich and deep this game can be. And once you have that, we can now talk about the topics at hand. Ooh. In this series, it will be happening at 5 p.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays. 5 p.m. Tuesdays and Thursdays. Burn that into your skull, because this is going to be lasting several weeks, probably to the end of the year and beyond it, because, you know, I have a habit of going on too long about everything, and StarCraft has infinite stuff to talk about. But some of the topics that we're going to be talking about is just amazing games, awesome reviews of insanely high-level matches, such as Fantasy vs. Stork happening right after this. We're going to be doing videos about strategy, things like how do I come up with a build order? What are common units to build with my race? How should I respond if I see if I've scouted something he's doing? We're going to have mechanics videos all about the physical side of StarCraft, about how to manage your base, how do you control a gigantic army, how should you use your hotkeys, things like that. And last, we're going to have some videos about mindset. How do you get back on track if you are really frustrated on a losing streak? How do you devote yourself to deliberate practice? How do you refocus if you're getting distracted within a game or getting flustered by something your opponent's doing? That's stuff that we're going to be covering every Tuesday and every Thursday. And as I'm going through this series, including starting right now, I want to set your expectations properly. Because if you go into StarCraft Remastered and you have the wrong expectations, you're going to have a bad time. Playing StarCraft for the first time ever, or if you've taken a break and you're hopping back into it, it's kind of like your first piano lesson. Do you know what you do at your first piano lesson? They show you how to sit at the piano. They say, hey, this finger hits that button, and here's how to move your hands up and down the keyboard. Here's how you read music and play at the same time, and soon you can play a beginner's piece. Right? Like, most people know that that's kind of how piano lessons work, and you know what? That's fun. Even playing a stupid song like Chopsticks is actually kind of fun and satisfying. If you went into your first piano lesson and you're like, oh my god, dude, I'm going to walk out of this with a sick original composition, well, you're going to feel shitty afterwards. You're going to feel bad. If you're like, dude, I'm going to be playing Chopin in 90 minutes, you're wrong. You're not going to. You're going to be disappointed. And this is happening to some people when they come to StarCraft Remastered, because they'll go, whoa, look at what Jaedong and Bisu and Flash are doing. They're really successful, and I want to be successful, so I'm going to do that. Well, most pros don't do what Bisu and Flash and Jaedong do because they're not good enough. And if you've played for 1 week, probably a bad idea. That's like going to the gym and seeing the guy lifting 800 pounds and going, cool, I'm starting at 800 pounds. Your arms are just going to fall off. You're going to break your back, you're going to die. And I don't want you to do that. So just as much as we're going to be talking about high-level gameplay and proper strategy and proper mechanics and all these kinds of things, I'm also going to be encouraging you to do things like play big game hunters, 2v2v2v2, play team games, play use map settings, even play, hell, I don't know, any mode where you're stomping on a computer, like a 7v1 comp stomp. Do that, not just because it's kind of crazy fun. After 1v1, my favorite mode is 2v2v2v2 and big game hunters. Not only is that stupidly, unbelievably fun, and part of the reason we play games is to have fun, but also these are essential activities that will help you build comfort with your mouse and keyboard, help you build comfort with your race, see the interactions of your units with theirs, see how terrain and pathing works. That's very, very important to do. Another thing that I want you to have in mind in order to set your expectations properly. StarCraft, at its very core, is a game consisting of 20 little mini-games. There's the microing this unit minigame, and the build the workers and tell the workers to build minigame, and the supply depot minigame, and the macro minigame, and the layout of your base minigame. There's all these different little minigames that are interweaving together to make for a rich experience. And when you sit down to play in your first few months, you might have this feeling like, oh my God, everything's going wrong. I'm messing up all over the place. Oh God, I'm doing a really bad job. I want to let you know, and I am firm in this statement, I am firm in my conviction of this statement. You're doing great. You're doing great. You're doing fine. Everyone who's playing this game literally is managing a crisis from start to finish. That is the game. And you might think, well, I'm going to hit a point where I'll stop making these mistakes and then I'll get the real strategy of the game. I want to show you something amazing. I want to show you something amazing to remind you that this can even happen to pros, okay? So let's be amazed for a moment. We're about to see something amazing. This is Bisu, okay? This is Bisu. What we're about to see is Bisu take some Dragoons, pick off these mines by triggering the spider mine, and then stepping back at a precise frame timing, hitting hold position so that way he can pick off the mine, okay? We're going to see this. Watch this in action. Oh my God. It's set to warp speed. It's set to warp speed. Perfect. Oh God, we were nailing the production side, but oh, whew. Okay, let's do this again. There we go. Now that's normal. Now, again, watch this. Watch this. He's going to trigger the mine, step back, and pick it off, and none of his Dragoons take damage. Isn't that incredible? Let's see that again in slow motion. He picks off the mine and steps back and takes no damage. Once again, let's see that at full speed, right? Let's see that at full speed. He triggers the mine, picks it off, and doesn't take damage. He did not use detection there. That is very precise and very amazing. You want to go to level 2 amazing? You want to go to level 2 amazing? Okay. You want to go to level 2 amazing? I want you to look down here at this panel, and in the middle of this very precise micro, Bisu builds a probe. Okay? Also, my cat has found birds, so you're going to hear her clicking in the background. Watch the bottom, watch the bottom, watch here. As he steps, watch here, builds a probe. Did you see it? Don't worry, because in slow motion, now look down at the bottom, clicks the nexus, builds a probe, returns back. Okay? Okay? Bisu is so good, you're hyped that he's building a probe. That's amazing. But we haven't even hit level 3 amazing yet. Are you ready for level 3? Ready for level 3 amazing? Bisu built 2 observatories in this game like a fucking newbie, okay? He built 2 observatories at a time when Protoss kind of really does not want to just throw 100 gas down the barrel, okay? It was a really bad time. And if we frame this in the context of minigames, Bisu was so focused on getting good micro, picking this probe off, or excuse me, picking this mine off. He was so focused on making sure that his probes were being built at just the right time, even if he was trying to micro, that he got a little distracted and messed up one of the easiest things in StarCraft, which is, what have I already built? And that's not because Bisu's bad. It's not because it's a huge error. It's because this is StarCraft and this happens to everyone. Even the absolute tip-top players in 100% of their games, they will make flubs all over the place. So I want to let you know when you're hopping in to your very first game of StarCraft or playing for your first few months, you're doing great. You don't even have to succeed at all the various mini games in order to be a successful player. You'll just slowly improve at them over time, and it's fine if stuff's going wrong. Let me drink some water. Ah, delicious. Okay. I want to now talk about a little bit of what makes StarCraft so amazing to hopefully excite some of you who haven't seen the game or who are maybe on the fence. One of the things that is so beautiful about StarCraft is the interplay between all the various... Do you hear my cat? Do you hear my cat? Okay. You're going to hear her clicking in the windows in the background. One of the things that is so amazing about StarCraft is that each of these little skills you develop, particularly the execution skills like base management, control of units, micro, create new strategies and permit you to do new things. This is very different from, say, if you're playing a classic like GoldenEye 64, where if you execute and aim a little better, maybe you would have won that match instead of losing by 1 kill. That is execution changing the outcome. But in StarCraft, the way you execute changes the experience. So what we're going to do is take an in-depth look at how strategy can evolve, how counters can evolve, and how we can see this interplay between different systems creating something new. So over here, I am going to be doing what is called an FD push. We're going to start with this by investigating the just what this build is, why it came about, and I'll let you know you're going to see this if you sit down and play some StarCraft. So, the way this push works is that the Terran gets 6 Marines, a small number of SCVs, a tank will pop out of this factory, and immediately the Terran player attacks. Immediately sends it right to the Protoss player. This is a Terran versus Protoss build. Important to note, this machine shop here is researching mines, though. And after this first tank, the Terran player will be building vultures. Why would Terran do this? It's to push really far forward and then lay mines in front of the Protoss base, and then Terran can retreat with an expansion behind it. And Protoss has to walk through a minefield in order to hit this expansion. It can win the game immediately. That's another advantage, but that's definitely like the third reason you do this opening. The number one is it's a nice, safe, efficient way to get an expansion. So let's go ahead and see me do this. As we're doing this, I just want to note some timings. As we're doing this, when is this coming? Look at the timer that's at the bottom of the screen. It's 4 minutes and 30 seconds is about when this happens. So I could expand here. I opt not to just because this is a tutorial video. If this were a real game, I would 100% expand. But let me just back up one quick frame here in the video, because in the factory, notice that this build has vultures rallied because the tank is just here to do some extra damage and to allow for more space for the Terran. Okay. If you're going super old school, you wind up doing something like a fast siege tank, right? It's gonna be a fast siege mode for the siege tank. And this is the push. Now, I pretty much beelined for the Protoss, who we'll assume is here at the bottom right. And see, then you get to plant mines out here right around 5 minutes and 5 seconds. This is the FD push, right? You get to do this little setup, and you have a safe expansion behind. Now, just for a little bit of history, the reason it's called an FD push, once upon a time there was a player named Gundam who did a very early 2-factory push with lots of vultures that would try to kill the Protoss outright. And it was a very, very scary build in 1999, 2000, 2001, and even a little bit into 2002. Protoss has slowly figured out ways to respond to it, and then this build came up that's not trying to just kill you with 2 factories. It's 1 factory, but it looks kind of like a Gundam push. But then you actually just take your double command center. You just take your expansion. Hence, fake Gundam rush, that's the F, double expand, the FD opening. So if we take a look at this, woo, this misclick, there we go. If we take a look at this composition, we can ask ourselves a very reasonable question. how do I kill this as Protoss? Well, let's just ask some basic shit, right? Let's just ask some basic shit. How many Dragoons does it take to kill this? How many Dragoons does it take to kill this? Not 3. It ain't 3, right? Cool. What about 4? Let's try 4. If I could get 4 Dragoons in time, would that allow me to hold off the FD rush? We're going to find out that the answer is no. This is a little bit of how you explore responding to a strategy by coming up with a strategy, right? We are trying to answer how many of a thing do I need in order to live. And what we see is that at around 5, you're okay. You'll notice there's no fancy control, there's nothing interesting going on, just literally 1A and then a right click here or there. And from this, we can say, okay, I now know that 5 Dragoons will help me stay alive. How do I get a good opening to respond to this? Look at this. Oh, yeah. Get out of here. I'm going to show you this build that you might find. Let's see here. Playback. Speed. All right, cool. We're just going to go straight up to 4x. And I'm going to talk through this. What we're about to see is the common early opening from Protoss in the early days. This is like a beginner build. In this build, what we're going to see is a Protoss go for a very fast robotics facility with observers, go for a relatively fast second gateway, so that way you can have 5 Dragoons and an observer out. So I'm doing everything pretty basically, nothing really that exceptional here. But the important thing that I want to highlight is that that strategic problem of the FD rush, the FD opening, we are trying to solve with a build of our own, with a strategic level answer. So you'll see just a few frames back right here. This is the robotics facility. I built it the instant I could. Here comes the gateway. I built it the instant that I could, after getting that up. And that robo facility might seem a little fast if you've been watching some modern games. But don't worry, we'll get to there. But you'll see that as we're getting really close to 5 minutes and 5 seconds, as we're getting really close, we actually have, like, an ideal composition. We have 5 Dragoons. We have an observer. The observer has just popped out. So if a Terran did this to us, we might think, yes, we did it. We held it strategically. And look at my money. It's beginning to pile up. I'm at 300. And so now I can actually take an expansion behind this. Boom. There's the expansion coming down a little bit around 5:30. Okay, so keep these timings in mind, and we're also going to be very smart and set our playback back to normal, like a real production pro. Now, that build is a great example of a build that does not focus very much on unit execution. You're just saying, how much do I need to not worry and win the fight? 5? There we go. There's a build that gets me 5. And that is a completely acceptable, legitimate opening that if you're new, I strongly recommend you think in this way. I strongly recommend you look at these kinds of openings and go, great, I don't even have to do that great of control. I don't even have to be that fancy. But look at what happens if you do develop enough control to be able to do Dragoon Micro. Now, this is what a lot of players figured out around 2002, 2003, and 4. That you can just do amazing things with Dragoons that have range as long as you're very careful when you control them. And so many modern build orders in this matchup as Protoss are just built around this. So we're going to see me just do some hold position micro, and there's a couple things I want to note as I'm retreating. I am not stutter stepping in the way that stutter stepping works in other games. Specifically, in a lot of other games, you retreat, shoot, retreat, shoot, retreat, shoot, and you're trying to shoot as fast as you can. You are only stepping during the cooldown of the attacks. That's not what we're doing. We are shooting and then walking away quite a bit and looking for an opportunity and then shooting once and looking and walking quite a bit and looking for an opportunity and shooting once. So here, I see this SCV and this one Marine that's a little bit isolated. I screw up my control a little bit, but I'm trying to pick off that SCV. Here was a good moment. Everything here has been pretty mediocre, but you'll see me arrange my Dragoons in a line, and I was very happy with that. I shot here. There we go. Now I got them in a line. Now all three are firing. And with just 3 Dragoons and some relatively basic micro, just looking for some opportunities, I have held off an FD rush. You know what's another thing that made this very successful? I started on his side of the map. I started on his side. Starting on his side, Dragoon micro, Dragoon range, and knowing timings, these all are working together to let me hold off this attack. Okay? And this is what's amazing, is because now I want a light bulb to go off in your head, where you go, huh, does that mean that I can expand earlier? And the answer is yeah. Yeah, it does. It does. In fact, we're just going to go ahead and take a look at a ranged expand right now. This is me doing a ranged expand. I'm going to go to the good old 4x speed, and nothing here is particularly exceptional in the base. Like, I'm not doing anything crazy or nutty or remarkable when it comes to the management of my base. Looks like I'm playing fast because I'm at 4x speed. I can actually just cut a little farther forward. I'm going to build a Dragoon, alright. 3 Dragoons and range are done by 4 minutes and 30 seconds. 3 Dragoons and range are done by 4 minutes and 30 seconds. But when did that expansion go down in the other game? It went down at 5 minutes and 30 seconds. Look at this. We are able to get a full expansion 90 seconds earlier in the game because I was doing smart control things out of the game. And that's what's so remarkable about watching a game of StarCraft, about playing a game of StarCraft, is that each of these little decisions that you wind up making compound together and allow you to do remarkable things in this area of the game because of something you did in that area of the game. And I want to note that this is not simply plug and play. This is not like, oh, you just do the micro. I want you to note that in each of these micro fights, it was not 5 or 6 seconds. It is about 30 seconds. How long is this? This entire video is 45 seconds long, okay? This is about 45 seconds of small decisions. Here, a few seconds, another small decision, a few seconds, another small decision, a few seconds, another small decision. Fights tend to happen over a long period of time. Execution tends to happen over a long period of time. And so, as we're looking at this, my opponent blocks my Dragoons with an SCV. This tree and this little pillar here block the Dragoons. So in fact, given the exact same setup that we just did, I'm going to lose this. I'm going to lose this. So I actually get owned here. And there's other ways that things can go awry or can go positively for our opponent too. For instance, if he plants one of those mines, look at this. Remember how 5 Dragoons easily held off the FD push? Well, if just this one single mine goes off and hits my Dragoons, this Terran cleans up. And this is what I love so much about StarCraft. This is why it is my favorite game ever of all time, is of these interrelationships. So when you sit down on the ladder and there's all these different mini games, we looked at about 3 here. Micro with a specific unit, the Dragoon. timings of a specific strategy, and it's assumed that we're going to be pretty reasonable at building stuff in our base. Just with those three, we can see them leaning on each other to produce something lovely. And so too, for you, you're going to sit down and you're going to see so much stuff going wrong in your game, so many things that you can work on, and that's great. As you work on those, as you improve those, you'll be able to do more and more and more and more. Just make sure that you don't stretch too much and try to do the ultra hard builds. You're doing great with the simple stuff. What I'm going to do now is take a very minor break, because we will now go into a deep analysis of the Stork versus Fantasy Stork versus Fantasy Incruit OSL finals that happened in 2008. It's just an amazing match. I'm really excited to show you. So just stay here. It's going to be a 30-second break. 30-second break.